How are you feeling? What have we done to each other?
Ever since I started my YouTube channel, David Fincher is one director that I always wanted to talk about, and Gone Girl is one of those movies that was right at the top of the list. This is an incredible movie that has a lot of rewatch value. Like, I've rewatched this movie so many times and I just peel back the layers and find something new every time I watch it. Amy is one of the best written female characters ever, and a lot of credit goes obviously to the book writer, but I do think that book adaptations are not always great. It is often messy. There are parts missing that make the fans of the book mad, but I think David Fincher handled this movie so beautifully. The editing is so brilliant. It's on point. Not one scene feels extra, and it doesn't feel long as well. Like, this was one of the quickest movies that I have ever watched. I'm a fan of David Fincher. I've loved all of his work, including his TV stuff, including Mindhunter. If you guys have not seen Mindhunter, you really should. And maybe you are the reason that that incredible show got cancelled as well. Like, it's still there on Netflix. The 2 seasons are still worth it. Like, it's not a completely finished story, but I do think that season 1 has a satisfying end and the season 2 has even a more satisfying end. So I do recommend watching Mindhunter as well. But let's get right back into Gone Girl. So Gone Girl is mostly about Amy. She is the protagonist of the movie, at least at the start. Amy is the byproduct of her parents' book series, Amazing Amy. So Amazing Amy was based on Amy and how Amy is this amazing girl, this perfect girl that does everything right. She gets married, everything is perfect. So that was the book series that her parents made based on her. So the public image of Amy was always being amazing. So that is where we get the background about Amy, and the movie begins with Amy basically disappearing from Nick's life. And it is revealed that they have been in a relationship for 5 years. They have been married for 5 years, and suddenly Amy is like disappeared. And the police comes to the house. They check the house. They suspect things. So they basically start doubting Nick, and they start basically suspecting Nick that he might have been responsible for Amy's disappearance. And there are a lot of clues in the movie that hint at that. And during the first half of the movie, you basically see Nick as the antagonist. You see that he was having an affair, and maybe that is why Amy got disappeared. Maybe Amy found out about Nick's affair, and maybe Nick didn't like that, and maybe Amy was going to leave, and basically Nick had to maybe kill Amy or make her disappear.
I am so much happier now that I'm dead.
But these things are soon realized to not be true, as right at the half point of the movie, there is this amazing twist where it is revealed that Amy has actually framed Nick. All of the things that she wrote on her diary was to make Nick look bad. Some of the things were obviously true, how beautiful the marriage was at the start. But again, she exaggerates a lot of things about Nick, how he used to hit her, how he was abusive with her, how he cheated on her. Obviously, he did cheat on her, so that was obviously some of the true things there. So she basically made Nick look really bad in that particular book, and she wanted to frame Nick for her murder as well. She left a lot of clues for the police to find out, and the movie is very brilliant in the sense that the police officer also sees right through the plan of Amy. Like, she is not buying the idea. It seems too simple, it seems too direct, and like Nick being the culprit also feels a little direct. And this is one thing that really stood out in the movie, that all the characters in the movie are smart, are brilliant, except the media. The media are portrayed like the media really is, but at least the main characters in the movie are portrayed in a very smart and in a genius kind of way that Fincher usually does with all his movies. That is pretty apparent here as well. Through the halfway point of the movie, it is revealed that Amy has basically framed Nick, and throughout her life she had this perfect image of being Amazing Amy. But that is of course something that Amy always despised, the comparison of her, the real Amy, with the character shown in the book that was written by her parents. And that was a bit unfair, to be honest. Like, I know like public perception can have an impact on a person, but she realized that she is very different to the character in the book. So she did try to pretend to be like the character in the book, and she also enjoyed it at the beginning with Nick. She wanted to hang out with Nick, do stuff like usually what a girl and boy does, and like have that dreamy kind of romance at the beginning of the relationship. But soon she realized that this is not going to sustain, this is not going to continue. And the moment she knew that Nick was having an affair, that was the point that she knew that, okay, now I have to scheme Nick, I have to find a way to run away from this life, I have to find a way to destroy Nick. And of course, this is not normal behavior. But again, how the movie sets it up, it perfectly makes sense for a fucked up character like Amy to do these things. And I really loved the plot twist at the halfway point of the movie. I caught the movie a bit later than it's a few years after its release date. I was lucky to avoid all the spoilers. Like, I'm 23 years of age right now, so when Gone Girl came out, I don't know, I must have been around 15, 14, 13 maybe. So yeah, that was not the age to watch a movie like Gone Girl, and fortunately I was not exposed to those kinds of movies in my childhood. Once I turned 17, 18, I watched Gone Girl for the first time, and I have rewatched it so many times, and I think that is mostly due to its impeccable script, amazing characters, and yeah, I just love seeing flawed characters on screen that doesn't pick sides based on gender, that doesn't obey gender stereotypes. Like, even a woman can be a serial killer. Wow, like, why hasn't Hollywood explored the ideas of women being these amazing complex villains? So, and even if those are executed, it is executed in a very stylish kind of way. I really found Amy to be one of the most complex antagonists ever in a movie. And yeah, this movie is about toxic relationships, this movie is about marriage, this movie is about a lot of things, about media, about perception, about what you think a person is just based on a couple of facts. So Amy mentions in the movie that America loves pregnant women. So the first thing that she decided was to write in the diary and reveal in the diary that she was pregnant. And quickly, everybody in the room will sympathize with her, and suddenly Nick becomes the villain instantly. Like, those are some of the things that was so beautifully done in the movie. The public were never going to sympathize with Nick in any way. Like, until Amy appeared, he was really the villain, and everyone was going after him. Nick was very smart with a couple of his interviews where he got people on his side, and people started to believe that Nick is actually mourning and for the loss of Amy, and Nick actually wants Amy to be back. Nick is basically repenting. He was trying to give that image, and that was also something that Amy was watching from afar, and she was feeling that, wow, Nick has really tried to turn this around. So yeah, Nick also is a pretty smart character in the movie, and I loved the back and forth between the two. I loved the chemistry between the two. I think Ben Affleck did an amazing job, and really Rosamund Pike deserved to win that Oscar. Like, looking back on it, it is one of the greatest female-led movies of all time, and it is absolutely spearheaded by Rosamund Pike. Like, without her performance, this movie crumbles instantly. It is about two unlikable characters, and yet you watch the movie till the end. This movie doesn't have one protagonist that you can root for. Of course, Nick has a lot of screen time, you feel sympathy for him, but again, he has done shitty things as well. So it's a movie about complex characters, it's a movie about so many themes, and it is edited so beautifully. At the end of the movie, Amy obviously returns back to Nick, and then it is revealed that Amy basically used one of her stalkers or one of her lovers, and she basically frames him that he was the one who wanted to rape her, and he was the reason that Amy disappeared. And yeah, in the end of the movie, they get back together. It's revealed that obviously Nick has had that relationship, he has had that affair as well, and yeah, the public also knows that Nick has had that affair. So again, in the end, the public image is very much that Amy has forgiven Nick and that Amy has done nothing wrong, and only Nick knows the truth because he knows Amy so well that he has figured it out like throughout the movie, and by the end he knows exactly who Amy is. And that is something that Amy realizes also at the end, that Nick is the only one that truly understands her. Nick is the only person in the world who truly gets what Amy is thinking, what Amy is doing. Maybe not what Amy is thinking or what she's about to do next, but Nick knows that she can do anything. Again, Nick is shown as a villain in the first half of the movie. He's still the villain by the end of the movie, but in the first half you completely sympathize with Amy and you completely think that Nick is that evil guy. But again, the plot twist is one of the greatest plot twists ever, and the ending where they both are back together and Amy basically is pregnant now with Nick's child. Somehow she managed it. Maybe she took Nick's sperm from somewhere and impregnated her. Like, Amy can do really anything. Nick feels trapped. I think Amy has completely forgiven Nick for his affairs with that particular girl. The movie ends with two fucked up characters. Obviously, Amy being the more fucked up since she's a serial killer, and at least Nick hasn't killed anyone. Like, people say that you can equate both of those characters. Like, I would disagree. Sure, he had an affair, but like, people cheat in real life all the time and they don't deserve to get killed for it. And again, this is not a dig at Amy. Like, Amy is an incredibly complex character that could exist in real life, and the things she does in the movie make sense. But again, this is one of those movies where the female character is more evil than the male character, and that is very welcoming and very refreshing in my opinion. And I would love for Hollywood to take more chances in giving layers to our female protagonist. And I rewatch this movie at least twice every year for some reason. I think the same reason why I rewatched Mindhunter maybe. I just find these characters so intriguing, so worth digging into, and every time that plot twist happens in the first half, I am just like blown away by the filmmaking aspect of it. I want more movies with female-led protagonists who are complex and layered. Like, you can have the perfect female protagonist as well, but again, life is not perfect. No one is perfect, and when you make a movie about a perfect female protagonist where everything she does is right and the male character is wrong, it doesn't feel right. You make a movie where obviously you can highlight things like discrimination and social injustice that women face, but make it in a more subtle way that it actually teaches something, it actually teaches someone, it makes you self-reflect. And instead, if you make a movie where you are hammering everything that men do or men have ever done, or basically you make men feel guilty just for being a man, I don't think those movies work. So yeah, that was just my opinion on where female-led movies are heading. And like, for example, what Disney is trying to do with its movies, where yeah, the female characters are like the perfect protagonists and basically the male characters are the ones that fuck up. Again, I'm all for female protagonists. Like, it's been like 100 years of Hollywood dominating male lead movies. So yeah, I welcome female led movies. Since there are 50-50 male and female in the population, that should translate in the movies as well. But I think that has to start with Hollywood making our female protagonists interesting, complex, real. I think that if you start from there, I think that will resonate with a lot of men as well, women as well. We all can get behind that movie. So yeah, that was my mini rant or mini opinion on Hollywood or maybe Disney and what they might need to learn. And I think Gone Girl is a perfect example of that, where you obviously adapt a pre-existing book, but you turn it into something very interesting in the hands of a very capable director. So yeah, I just want more female-led movies with complex characters. That's pretty much it. Again, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Recently, I also uploaded a video where I thanked everyone for crossing 10 subscribers. Now I have close to 25 subscribers, and I promised you guys that I would buy a new mic, which I have. So like, keep supporting me. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and yeah, subscribe if you like this content. Even if you don't like this content, you can maybe drop in the comment section why you hated me or my opinion or my content.